Hello,
Hello,
we
we
are
are
horror
Hecklers.
Hecklers, and welcome to our home.
Glad you could join us.
We like to watch clips from great old horror movies.
And we comment on what we see.
Usually we're funny, sometimes we're informative.
Sometimes we just point out what should be common sense,
Each episode is named after a survival advice we learned from watching a horror movie.
which may come in handy for people who find themselves in the same situation.
So sit back and relax.
And let the show begin.
We are watching the original 1964 movie The Last Man on Earth.
Starring Vincent Price.
It's a man who continues to live in a world where a plague he is immune to has turned the entire population into vampire-like creatures.
And what happens when he encounters a small group of people who could be saved by him,
The horror movie survival advice is be a loner.
which will make sense by the end of this episode.
Now we know what you are thinking.
We have contradicted ourselves by giving the survival advice of being with people because there's safety in numbers, and now we're saying be a loner.
But it just depends on the situation whether you should follow one rule or the other. It's up to you to make that judgment call.
And in this case, you should definitely stay away from people.
I bet the house prices have taken a nosedive.
That's what happens when you let vampires move into the neighborhood.
It's almost 6 by his clock time.
Time to rise and shine.
3,500 U.S. troops were sent to Vietnam in 1965.
We Googled it,
The first Arab oil embargo happened in 1967.
and America's dependence on oil is still a dangerous habit.
Martin Luther King was assassinated in 1968.
Yeah, I own the world. An empty, dead, silent world.
I don't mind the voiceover of his thoughts, but at this point, he was probably talking out loud to himself. Loners tend to do that.
I'm not ashamed to admit that I talk to myself all the time.
It's the end of the world as we know it, but there's still coffee and plenty of booze.
Don't drink. It dulls your senses.
A radio is one of the best resources for disasters.
Radio is not dead.
I thought the creatures were vampires, and vampires don't have a reflection in mirrors.
I guess it just depends on the type of vampire.
Canned foods can last for decades, even after their expiration date.
As long as air doesn't leak into the cans and become contaminated.
Anger can make me vulnerable. It can destroy my reason, and reason's the only advantage I have over them.
Can a man still think reasonably and logically when he probably feels he has lost all morality?
He's in survival mode. He just keeps moving, and movement is life.
I've seen people make baseball bats with those.
You should make one of those. Hitting some balls would relieve some stress.
He's got crosses up and garlic. That's stereotypical vampire warfare.
It works for me.
He lifted her like she weighed 20 pounds.
Maybe they're a bit on the puny side.
How many grocery stores have generators like that?
Many did in the 50s before it became financially better to just insure a loss. I Googled it.
Plenty of dead cow meat to feast on.
Thanks, but no thanks.
Garlic has a very long shelf life, and it would be possible for Robert to grow some in a garden.
Not like the vampires would dig it up.
It's funny how he chooses all the plain mirrors.
Robert doesn't want to waste an expensive one.
Apparently, there's no need for coffins for the undead.
That's too bad. I like the whole coffin bit.
The painting on the wall shows he has some semblance of wanting to live.
It needs a frame.
The vampires are slow, and they carry weapons.
I thought their fangs were enough to attack.
Why is that vampire calling him by his last name?
I would have staked him the first chance I got.
They're kind of stupid.
And pretty slow.
They remind me more of zombies. Zombies with fangs.
Kind of a vampire/zombie breed of creature.
Be a loner. He's a fan of jazz?
It suits him.
I fall asleep to music all the time.
Yeah, but you don't have to put up with record skipping.
Turn on the lights.
He has that covered.
I think men have a harder time dealing with being alone when their spouse dies.
Women seem to handle being a widow much better.
Especially when she's a black widow.
You have to stop watching so much Investigation Discovery.
Drive safely.
Particularly when you're upset.
Stay away from cemeteries.
Look at all the crosses.
Now that's an amazing mausoleum.
A place for the very privileged.
There's at least one coffin in this movie.
It looks like marble.
These vampires aren't so scary.
Robert can take them.
The creatures can feel pain. They're pretty weak.
They haven't lost all their humanity.
Look at these guys wearing suits.
I guess they were very upper class when they were still alive.
Oh, come on, you don't look that bad.
For a zombie vampire, he needs a bath.
Lock your doors.
As soon as you get that arm out of your way.
Don't smoke.
He waits until now to light up.
And don't drink.
It will only make things worse.
Be a loner. Watching videos and photos of people who have died will trigger grief.
Most people will need to put those away for a long time.
Hey, Verge.
Yes? Oh no, my makeup.
She's the ham in the family.
No wonder we don't see him in the video. He's the one behind the scenes.
It's highly theoretical, Ben.
Theory is the beginning of solution. A system of ideals will lead to a means to solving a problem.
There are many theories that should be fact, like evolution,
Gravity,
relativity,
cell theory,
molecular theory,
Big Bang theory,
germ theory,
atomic theory.
global warming theory.
You're whistling past the graveyard.
Whistling past the graveyard is an old saying.
It means trying to stay cheerful in a dire situation.
I'm sorry, Ben. I just can't accept the idea of universal disease.
But there's not universal diseases.
Then there is universal precautions.
They're outside in the yard with kids. Does she really need a dress and pearls and bouffant hair?
You know how these old horror movie women are.
They lived a very privileged and waspy existence.
People used to an easy life have very little survival skills.
She should have told him that she didn't feel well.
Many women of her generation held their feelings in.
Have you noticed that Robert never puts his windows up or locks his doors?
Kind of a strange fellow.
Well? The bacilli are multiplying.
The bacilli germ includes parasitic pathogenic species.
Perfect for a vampire disease.
That kicks the bone marrow theory in the head.
This specimen shows a higher white count than when I put it on the slide. Those cells are still living, Dr. Mercer, off one another.
That's an infection. When your blood marrow produces more white cells to fight off infection.
Leukemia increases the number of white blood cells.
It's highly contagious and it's reached plague proportion.
A plague is a serious bacterial infection that is usually deadly to humans and other mammals.
Like the Black Plague of Europe, also known as the Black Death.
The infected people always so tired in the daytime. Why can't they stand the sunlight?
There is an inherited condition that makes people allergic to the sun.
It occurs in 2 out of every 1 million people.
I never realized how many reporters are in horror movies until now.
I think they need people to give facts to the storyline.
You can judge a society by the way they treat their dead.
That's a paraphrase from a William Gladstone quote.
You take care of your life, I'll take care of mine.
Ben is out for number one.
He can afford to be since he seems to be alone.
He's putting his work before his family.
But he's trying to find the cure to save everyone.
This is really creepy. It reminds me of that Swedish vampire movie.
Let the right one in.
Lock your doors.
Good additional horror movie survival advice.
Don't confuse the dead.
With memories of the living.
I have to say that I'm impressed with how her hair held up.
You can't beat a bouffant.
Be a loner. The less people you love, the less time you will suffer when you lose them.
I don't think I agree with you.
It's just a theory.
One that should not be researched.
Ben still has the same hair even in death.
You can't beat a pompadour.
That's what happens when you don't lock your car up.
Too bad. It was such a cool car.
This convertible would be nice.
I do not recommend a convertible.
It doesn't seem to be a very practical choice.
What a cute dog.
It looks like a black poodle.
Go ahead and let the dog in.
Dogs aren't sneaky, but cats are.
Be a loner. How sad. At least the dog wasn't alone when it died.
Even brief moments of happiness are worth feeling.
Something's not right with this.
Be leery, Robert.
Why is this woman wearing her skirt during a catastrophic event?
At least her shoes look comfortable.
And what's with the matching coat?
She probably needs a coat regardless, don't you think?
She looks like she's wearing an engagement ring or a wedding ring.
There must be others.
I've been wandering ever since. Hiding at night. Not eating more than scraps.
Just make sure you don't put garlic in anything.
Right, no Italian food.
Men stop listening to women after 6 minutes.
I don't think he made it that long.
She has a nice haircut.
It's very modern.
I can't believe she's smoking when humanity is almost at an end.
I guess she figures what's the use in living healthy?
Come out, Morgan.
Ben is downright annoying.
I don't think he was that nice to begin with.
My theory is that the bat had previously acquired the vampire germ. By the time it entered my blood, it had been strained and weakened by the bat system.
Vaccines contain toxins that induce an immune response in the body to produce antigens.
It's a way of preparing the body to fight a disease by exposing a person to a weakened state of the virus or bacteria.
As a result, I have immunity.
It is possible to have naturally acquired immunity from diseases,
Particularly a disease that is mild, like chickenpox.
but not so much for diseases that cause death and vampirism.
Most people fear bat bites because of rabies.
If not of killing the germ, at least of containing it, keeping it from spreading.
That's not a solution to the disease.
It's only a temporary fix.
She's starting to get freaky hair.
That's a sign that she needs to take that shot.
And you want me to join?
You can't join us.
Be a loner. She's lucky that they have the same blood type, or a blood type that is compatible with her own.
O negative is considered the universal donor.
You see? It worked, Ruth. The antibodies in my blood worked.
Her hair is all straight. That's proof for me that she's not a vampire.
Or whatever creature humanity is turning into.
Save all the others. We won't be alone. We'll never be alone again.
Be a loner. How about some Italian food?
Garlic Alfredo tortellini.
Angry spaghetti?
Garlic butter breadsticks.
Linguine with garlic and parmesan?
Garlic bread pizza.
Lock your doors.
Additional horror movie survival advice repeated twice.
Run fast, Robert.
Survival advice we may hear in other episodes.
At least he locked the door.
Robert must have heard us.
And be quiet.
Good advice he doesn't seem to follow.
You freaks!
There's nothing wrong with being freaks.
All of you
Circus freaks are fine.
You're freaks. I'm a man.
That's a sign that a society should die out.
When the abnormal becomes normal.
If only Robert had listened to us to learn to be a loner, then he may have lived.
And continued to be the last man on earth until he died.
That's the end of our show.
We hope you enjoyed spending time with us.
And if you want to see the entire movie, The Last Man on Earth, be sure to visit Reflecting Moon channel on YouTube.
Because it is just amazing. We
are
are
Horror
Horror
Hecklers.
Hecklers.
Be sure to come back and visit us.
Goodbye.
Created by Reflecting Moon Production Company.